wise as Master Yoda and as powerful as Master Windu.
You are the most gifted Jedi I have ever met. I see you becoming the greatest of all Jedi.
I feel lost.
Lost? What do you mean?
I'm not the Jedi I should be. I want more, and I know I shouldn't. How do you know the ways of the Force?
My mentor taught me everything about the Force, even the nature of the dark side.
All right, here we go. Here's the second part of our Star Wars prequels conversation.
All right, let's go to my favorite, man.
All right, let's go to Revenge of the Sith.
Come on, my favorite.
Here we are, Revenge of the Sith. And
you said your favorite?
That's
Meaning favorite between the three or all?
Bro, all 9. My favorite's Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
Whoa.
That's a big take right there.
All 9. I'm going to lay it on the line. All 9 is my favorite movie.
That's what, because the way he said it, I was like, wait a minute, it didn't sound like he said it like it was his favorite of the prequels. All
that?
9.
You hear people just turned off their podcast players right now?
All 9.
He's doubled down. He's doubling down. You're gonna have to.
I get it though. You know what?
Sell us here.
I get it because for me,
it's cool though.
Yeah, for me, this is the best one out of the prequels for sure because it actually gets to the point. It gets to what we actually really wanted to see, which is Anakin Skywalker turn to the dark side and then him become Darth Vader. You get to see the Emperor get into power. It's got everything you want in this movie.
Absolutely.
Everything you've wanted. You finally get to see it all come into motion, and it's pretty freaking dark.
How he turns to Darth Vader. That's the biggest, coolest thing, man.
It completes what we talked about the prequels needing to complete, right? Here's little kid Anakin, and then this one, this is Anakin turning into Darth Vader. And Darth Vader has always been my favorite character in all of Star Wars.
Yep.
I've always, it's always been Vader. And so I love this movie for lots of reasons, but mainly for the transition. And I don't know. There's just always been something about the dark side that like I've liked about Star Wars.
Yeah,
I think Max is in your same world.
I'm right there with you, man.
And so I dig it.
Yeah.
And I think I like that it's the most dark, especially because like we were kind of talking about in the beginning, and I said when I first saw, Phantom and Clone Wars, like I was fine with. I didn't notice because I was, again, I was 10 and 12 years old when I saw those, but I like Episode 3. Because I feel like they just turn it up a notch, and they just gave you everything, and it wasn't kiddie, and
it starts super epic.
Oh yeah,
I think it's the only
one
that
ends super epic.
It ends super epic, but it also starts super epic. I think it's one of the out of all of the movies where it starts with like a huge battle in space because I don't think any of the other ones do. In A New Hope, you see like one ship chasing another ship.
Yeah. They all start in space, but none with an epic battle.
No, and that's like a huge battle. There's a lot of ships going on. There's a lot of things happening. A lot of stuff you got to follow.
And that was above Coruscant.
Yeah, which I also thought was pretty cool. I would have liked to have seen the attack actually. Huh?
It was all staged.
Well, totally, it was all staged.
Yeah.
The whole war was staged by good old M's.
3D chess master.
Good old Palps. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he does.
But I thought it starts off in an epic way. It kind of fades a little bit with the whole like buzz droid scene, which I thought was a little cheesy. I mean, look, this whole movie's peppered with cheese, like all the other movies throughout it. And I don't know, this one bugs me just a little bit more because the first half of it is filled with a lot of cheese, but at some point it's like, we're done. Now we're gonna get dark. Now we're gonna earn that PG-13, and we're gonna show you why this is gonna happen. We're gonna show you an evil Anakin. He's killing kids. He's killing colleagues.
It's awesome.
He's lying to his
Phenomenal.
wife. He's going to another planet.
Phenomenal.
He's assassinating all the big players that are like basically think they're in charge.
He's
the
released.
Separatists, but they're really not.
Yeah.
And like, you get to see some darkness happen. But all the darkness happens in the last 45 minutes. Maybe. It's a pretty. I think that this one runs long.
Pushing 3 hours.
Yeah, I didn't look at the time for it, but I feel like it plays long. It plays long. But the first part of it's pretty cheese. Like you see the buzz droids, they get to the ship, they get to Grievous's ship where Palpatine's being held. You get the little banter with them in the elevator. R2's trying to hide the communicator because there's all these droids out there, and like for some reason it's playing. There's no volume control. Why there's no volume control? He can catch something in his hand, like in his little thing, whatever, but he can't turn the volume down. Also, why doesn't he have the technology inside his body to actually just be a receiver?
Yeah, that's
we got to
true.
think about these things for a second. I mean, we're blowing things up.
You're right.
We're rewriting lore.
Yeah. I mean, but you know,
those things, it doesn't make any sense. Like, but once you actually get to, I guess it's somewhat of a throne room, I guess, for Dooku, when you see the staged Palpatine, you know, in his fake locks or whatever, being held by Dooku. And I wonder though, does Dooku know that Palpatine is actually the Emperor?
Yes.
Yeah, he does.
Does he? Because he never actually sees his face. He's always in cloak.
Yeah, but when the Emperor is like, kill him, he looks at him like, dude, are you serious?
But he says that maybe thinking that the Emperor wouldn't, or that Palpatine wouldn't say that.
No, he knows.
Like, because like, dude, I thought we're in cahoots. Why are you gonna tell him to kill me, man?
Does he act in any of the movies? Did they actually say that he knows, or is it in a book that you read? You reader.
Well,
I think it's implied.
No, I think it's.
I don't know
was
if
just
it's
gonna
implied.
say that. No, I think it's implied, but it was in the novelization of the book, or the novelization of the movie. He knows. He knows
because the only time we actually ever see Palpatine and Dooku together is at the very end of Attack of the Clones, and he's got his cloak over his head. You know, he may never show his face. I don't know what kind of personality he has as the Emperor, as the, you know, whatever.
Okay, so I won't take long on this, but in the novelization of this, that look that he had when he looked at Palpatine, when he right before he got his head cut off, was the look of betrayal, and like they took like multiple pages to go through those couple seconds in Dooku's head of what he was thinking, and like almost like that life flashing before your eyes. The other thing that was really cool that they didn't put obviously in the movie, but in the book they said, is that Palpatine was actually giving Anakin some dark side power to actually fuel him to kill Dooku and to beat Dooku.
That final little push
was actually something that he sent from the chair. That's at least what they, said in the novelization.
I mean, he handles them pretty well.
I always assumed, for me, that he didn't know, just because when Palpatine says kill him, I would have thought that in that time he would have been like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, I work for you. Like, what do you mean kill him? Like, that wasn't part of the plan.
He was in shock.
Yeah, that's how I took it. I didn't take it that way. The way he looked at him, like, dude.
And that's why I said, do it now.
You didn't tell me this was part of the plan. What, like,
I just took it as a look of shock. Like, whoa, the Chancellor is telling people to just assassinate people. Like, I thought he was going to get off scot-free. I thought he was just going to go to jail. I didn't realize he was going to get assassinated. Like,
he knew the master plan.
Like, I never got that.
I didn't know that.
He didn't know. As soon as I saw that, I thought,
I thought that was just weird that he didn't like call him out on it right then and there in front of Anakin.
I could see what you're saying though, because like if you had the Chancellor saying "kill me," you'd be looking over like, "What do you mean kill me?
What do you mean kill me, dude?
That's not part of
that is not what we talked about." And then Anakin be like, "What do you mean that's not what we're talking about?" Like, dude, that's the guy, man. He's my master. That's the Dark Lord you've been looking for.
He could have just said master.
Whoa. That's why I said kill him now.
To me. Like, wake up, Obi-Wan. Wake up, Obi-Wan. You guys have a conversation before you kill me. Like, I have no hands. I'm not going anywhere. Like, that's
right.
I don't know. I think that I could have went that way.
For sure.
Anyways, but that was a cool fight scene.
Very cool.
Even though that's another thing where, as powerful as Obi-Wan seems to be, especially because he ends up fighting Anakin Skywalker at the end, and he also kills Grievous on his own, and he defeats Anakin by himself.
And Maul. Before this.
And Maul, he's pretty badass, but somehow Dooku just keeps whipping him around all over the place. He gets knocked out pretty quick.
From a kick.
Yeah.
No, it's a force push.
Or did he get force push? Oh, yeah, he kicked Anakin.
No, he's like choked. He's choked and then he's thrown.
Yeah.
Either way, he's knocked out of the battle pretty damn quick, into the point where he's knocked out so bad that Anakin's got to carry him while the ship is kind of falling and losing gravity and down the elevator shaft. I mean, in a way, it's kind of a cool scene, but then it's also, it becomes cheesy in a way a little bit, but it is nice to see the Anakin, even though he just assassinated Dooku, that he's not going to listen to Palpatine the entire and leave Obi-Wan. That was nice. Like, no, his fate's gonna be our fate. I'm not gonna leave him. He's like, he's my brother, my father figure. Like, he's still, even though, like, he still holds that love for him, even though he should blame him for the death of his mother, like what we talked about in the other episode. Either bad writing, or he forgave him off scene, or he kind of like, oh, maybe I should have known.
I think it was just like stacking.
Maybe forgot about it.
Like, it's stacking straw on the camel's back.
That's a pretty big stack, though.
It's a big stack.
That's a big stack.
Absolutely, it is.
So, anyways, I'm gonna fly through this movie as fast as possible. I know we didn't hit scene for scene the other two, but I'm gonna do it on this one. So it was nice to kind of see that they get captured pretty easily by Grievous, which I thought was kind of weird. But then they have like a really small battle with them. They crash half of a ship.
Yeah.
They land on, Coruscant. Then you get to see Anakin find out that he's going to be a papa, which is kind of nice. Also, I would think that at that time, anybody, because he's not having the dreams yet. He's not having these dreams that Padme is going to die yet. He's not having the dreams that he's going to die in childbirth, whatever the case is happening. I would think at that moment, if he loves her that much, hey, I don't think I need to be a Jedi anymore. Maybe it's time to step away from the Jedi, raise the kid, move on with my life. I could still have these powers. It's not going to take them away from me.
No,
exactly.
I mean, if Dooku can walk away and run a whole freaking separatist government or whatever the heck he's doing, I can run away with the one of the congressmen or whatever senators and do whatever I need to do. I don't know.
Anakin has ego, though, man.
Yeah.
He could still be a badass. He could be a Jedi for hire.
But he was.
Jedi
you know
for
what?
hire.
But do you know what he wanted? He wanted to be a Jedi Master.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted.
His ambition was
and that's
still there.
why he was so pissed when they put him on the council, but didn't make him a master.
Yeah.
It's funny you brought that up, because I was going to bring that up at some point. Let's bring it up now. In the Clone Wars, he's a master.
He's a knight.
No, Ahsoka Tano calls him master the entire time.
Well, because that's her master, just like he calls Obi-Wan master.
So he can be a master to one, but not a master to all.
Well, no. There's a difference between
levels.
Master and Jedi master. So I'm gonna call you master because I'm your apprentice. It's like a sign of respect. But being a Jedi master is different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I feel better about it.
Yeah.
I thought that was another mistake in the long line of Lucas mistakes.
No.
I'll allow it.
Okay.
Just because I love Ahsoka Tano, and I cannot wait for everybody that doesn't watch the Clone Wars to really be introduced to her character. Because in my mind, she's probably the best Jedi out of everybody.
Agreed. And she's got the kind of Qui-Gon-esque vibe where she's just like,
Totally.
She's not down with the bullshit of the Jedi.
Yeah, she steps away from the Jedi and she kind of follows her own code, but her own code it's like an independent. You know what I mean? Like, you're not a Democrat, you're not a Republican. You don't think that one side is right. You're not just going to follow blindly with the Democrats.
Both right and they're both wrong at the same time.
They're both bullshit.
So she, in a way, I guess she could be a gray, like, there's the whole thing about gray Jedis and stuff like that, which a lot of people, I think, thought that Qui-Gon was, in a way, a gray Jedi.
He kind of was.
Yeah.
So I think she rides that line of a gray Jedi.
Absolutely.
She doesn't call herself a Jedi anymore, but she doesn't, like you said, follow the bullshit. She doesn't always side with what the Jedi Council would say or anything like that. She just follows her heart and just follows what she thinks is right. And if you watch her in the cartoons, you're always like, yeah, she's right. Yeah, she got the short end of the stick on that.
She's badass.
I can't wait for people to really be introduced to her. Her show, which better be way better than Obi-Wan Kenobi. If they have the same people, which I know they don't.
It's not. It's Filoni.
I know.
We're
Filoni's
cool.
not going to let this screw over. Like,
cool.
Filoni's going to make sure that's happening.
Filoni's the man.
I don't know who ran Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it wasn't him.
It was Deborah Chow.
I don't know who she is, but
it was a mistake.
She screwed that up. Screwed that up.
Anywho,
moving on. I got a scene I pulled. Okay. We're gonna gloss over all this stuff. So yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi takes out Grievous at some point, yada yada yada. I think that happens after the scene. So we're gonna play the scene where there's like this somewhat, not a heart to heart, but there's some communication being passed on from Senator Palpatine, Chancellor Palpatine, to Obi-Wan or to Anakin Skywalker. And it's that scene that I was talking about before, where I was hoping that he was gonna say, Anakin,
I'm your
your father. Here we go.
All while watching Cirque du Soleil.
I don't know what they're watching. It's like some kind of water bubble.
Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
No.
I thought not. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you. It's a Sith legend. Darth Plagueis was a dark lord of the Sith, so powerful and so wise, he could use the Force to influence the midi-chlorians to create life. He had such a knowledge of the dark side, he could even keep the ones he cared about from dying.
He could actually save people from death.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
So yeah, some of us might remember that line from episode 9, Rise of Skywalker, to kind of set the tone for the reason why the Emperor all of a sudden reappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so...
Not doing those yet.
Not doing those yet. Joey, give me the background on this. Tell me what's going on here.
So just, we kind of touched on it earlier, but this story in particular is him talking about his story with his master.
Right.
And this is Darth Plagueis, again, trying to... The only thing he wanted was to not die and to continue his legacy, and he really wanted to become immortal. He didn't want to do essence transfer, which is when you die, you transfer your essence into somebody else, which is what Palpatine was trying to do to Luke in Return of the Jedi. Strike me down. He knew that if he struck him down, he was going to try and transfer his essence into him. That was what he was trying to egg Luke on for. So,
wow.
Yeah, and that's what he did when he basically died by Vader in Return of the Jedi. He transferred himself into clone bodies of himself, which is what he was in episode 9, right? Okay. So
connecting.
Now that we know that, do we like episode 9 a little bit more?
That's why he was looking like he was falling apart.
Yeah.
Like his fingers and stuff.
No, I get that.
Because and what was happening is he constantly had to transfer his body into new clones because his power was disintegrating his clone bodies. So he was constantly jumping bodies and doing essence transfer is what that was called. So
I hope Kyle is listening to this.
So what Plagueis was trying to do is basically make it so he was immortal. He was trying to manipulate midichlorians. So when it's just great when Palpatine is telling that story because he's telling the story of him and his master.
Yeah.
But he's also, giving Anakin a little glimpse into potential power, but it was false power, and Palpatine knew it. He knew that he wasn't going to be able to save Padme. He was just tricking and tempting Anakin further into the dark side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was using it.
He was totally using it.
Yeah, I mean, the way I looked at it is, Palpatine was the ultimate manipulator.
100%.
Ultimate. From, he starts a war. He runs both sides. He manipulates Anakin to kind of, I don't know, he didn't really manipulate him as far as like the moves that he did with the, striking down the Sand People. But every single thing else afterwards, I feel like Palpatine had his ear as far as like, maybe you should do this, do that. They don't respect you.
Oh, yeah.
They're not giving you the, he says it in here, like, they ask you to do something that you didn't want to do, that you felt that was wrong. He's kind of pushing that edge over because even Anakin, we talked about it, like how the Jedi kind of lost their way. They became more politicians than anything else. And so Anakin kind of felt that way already.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was kind of feeling that they were already not following, even though he wasn't really following the path because he's with Padme and stuff like that. And, they're married and they have a kid behind the scenes and stuff. But he also felt that they weren't doing what they said that they were going to be doing, which was protecting people in a way. He even sees that, you kind of see that a little bit in the beginning when they're, Obi-Wan Kenobi and him are flying to go save Palpatine, even though Palpatine in a way is also his mentor. He says that he wants to break away and save the other clones that are helping him. And Obi-Wan Kenobi's like, no, they're doing their job.
Oh, yeah.
We have to do our job.
Mm-hmm.
Where he feels that, at least I've always felt that way, that Anakin feels like they're supposed to be protecting people and that they're kind of not doing that. They're kind of like following rules maybe a little too much. Yeah. Where he maybe wants to be a little bit more like Ahsoka Tano. Yeah. All right. I got another scene I'm going to play. So we're going to fast forward all this stuff. So, like Obi-Wan Kenobi's already taken out Grievous. We think the war is over. So now we've hit that point where maybe I should have pulled this scene, but I didn't. We're just going to gloss over this really fast. So now it's time that the Palpatine's supposed to relinquish his power, right? Because Grievous has been taken out. Now there's no leader they think there's around for the droid army.
Yeah.
Right. So Anakin Skywalker has now found out that Palpatine is the Sith Lord they've been looking for. He goes and he tells Mace Windu. Mace Windu's got to now they're already going over there right now to make sure that Palpatine relinquishes the power of being the Chancellor or whatever.
Yep.
And so Anakin tells him no, this is the guy you've been looking for. All right. So now Mace Windu goes over there to kind of, he has a battle with Palpatine. Everybody, all the other Jedi die really easily.
Yeah,
for sure.
But Mace Windu looks like he's winning. Now,
yeah,
I don't know if it's
about to win.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a staged win to kind of help Anakin kind of go to that
I thought
side.
about that too.
So hold on. Joey's giving me a look. Joey's got some insight.
Yeah.
Go, Joey, go.
It was totally, he threw it.
Okay.
He threw it. He sensed Anakin coming. He knew this was going to be the final push. And this came from, this wasn't from book. This was from things George has said and things that the actor Ian McDermott?
Sounds right.
Ian
Dearman.
Yeah. That's
a D.
From the actor.
McD.
McDiarmid.
Yeah. So from things that he said, he threw it.
Yeah.
Because he knew Anakin was coming, and he knew that if he spun it to look like Mace was going to kill him, which Mace was going to kill him because Mace knew he was a Sith Lord. Let's end this shit now.
Yeah.
Let's not have a trial for this guy. Let's end this now.
Yeah.
And he knew that this would be your wife or Mace Windu. What's Anakin going to choose all day, every day?
Of course.
Yeah.
Natalie.
Yeah.
Duh.
Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't? Bye, Mace.
I mean, sorry, Samuel L., but
And so that's
not
that's
me.
what happened.
Not me. I wouldn't choose
you
her.
like the bald head over at Natalie Portman, huh?
So that's that.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's good insight. I mean, we all knew that was the tipping point for Anakin because he chose his wife.
The final.
Yeah, that was the final act.
So the final point where he fully commits to this journey, even though he drops down to his knees and he says, I can't remember the line exactly, but
what have I done?
What have I done?
Yeah.
Just tell me what I got to do, whatever the case is. And now he tells him, go to the Jedi Temple, kill all the Jedi.
Yeah.
Not only kill the Jedi, kill all the younglings.
Yeah.
You're now a mass murderer for me.
But not Reva. What?
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 Wait. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
we gotta save her. Get her on the left side of the stomach.
Yeah, not directly in the stomach.
We're gonna need her for some really bad plot points later on in life.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
No, but you're right. That was the final tipping point for Anakin's transition.
And it's so interesting because I know a lot of people that listen to this. I mean, if you've listened to this far, I'm assuming you've watched Clone Wars, okay? Because we're pretty deep into this now. So if you saw a really bitchy, whiny Anakin in Attack of the Clones, but then you saw an Anakin Skywalker in 7 seasons of Clone Wars. That's pretty awesome.
Pretty badass.
He's pretty badass. He's a mentor
to
Ahsoka Tano.
He's a general.
He's a general. He has his own clone army. He's got Rex. He's
501st, dude.
Yeah, he's a pretty badass. He is definitely a hero in the Clone Wars. They talk about how he's a hero in the Clone Wars in A New Hope, but you don't actually see what kind of a hero he is because he's not really fighting in the Clone Wars that much. He fights in the end of Attack of the Clones, and he fights in a very brief battle in the beginning to try to save the Chancellor. But he's got all these missions he does through 7 seasons of Clone Wars.
And it's years. It spans years.
Yeah. And you see what his beliefs are. You kind of see obviously you kind of see him with Padme a little bit and stuff like that. But you see how he defies the Jedi Council to do the right thing a lot of times in the Clone Wars, which is awesome. So then now and that's all canon, to get all the way to this point now where he chooses the Emperor, or he's not Emperor yet, but he chooses the Chancellor over
and the dark side,
the Jedi, to the point now where all these things that I've been fighting for
out the window.
Huh? Out the window. Literally out the window.
Yeah.
Like,
literally
with window is gone.
He's
Out
gone.
the
Fly,
window.
baby, fly.
To the point where you're going to kill all your colleagues and kids and just burn it all to the ground.
Burn it down.
I mean,
In the name of love, dude.
in the name of love. That's pretty.
And fear. There was a lot of fear.
I believe in that
it's
more.
all fear.
Absolutely.
I believe in that more than a Kylo Ren. Sorry.
Let's not even touch it. Let's not even touch it
Well,
right
we're
now.
gonna hit that at some point. I'm telling you that right now.
I hope we do.
I'm gonna destroy that shit.
Oh man.
Anyways, I mean, in a way, is it believable enough to pass him over to the dark side?
Yes.
Let me ask you that. You think it is that to that point?
Yes. Absolutely. Because
to push away right and wrong for that much, to know that what I'm about to do is going to sacrifice this many people for the one person.
Considering the background, yes. Because, I feel like if you were to, let's make this about, we all have kids. Let's make this about our kids. What would you not do for your children?
Exactly.
Nothing. So now you take Anakin.
Which one?
Your favorite. No, no, I'm kidding. You take Anakin, who, how we know he was raised without a father, all of these things. Qui-Gon died, all this shit
Lost
that's
his
happened
mom.
to him. Lost his mom. I mean, everything,
in his
right?
arms.
So who does he have? Who does he have? He has Padme and his future children.
Yeah.
So everything, he's all in. He's doubled down. Everything
but
is for this.
he also has Obi-Wan Kenobi, who he's looked at to as a father figure, as a brother. He has Yoda.
He had Obi-Wan. He was already at a breaking point.
Yeah.
He was right there, man.
But they didn't separate. I mean, you don't see that breaking point at all in Revenge of the Sith.
No, but I love,
especially since so let's I'm sorry, let's backtrack it for a second. He has that issue with his mother that you see in Attack of the Clones, right?
Yeah.
But do you ever see that issue that he has with Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Clone Wars? And it's canon, so it counts. I don't think I ever see an issue with him in Obi-Wan Kenobi. And you don't see an issue with Obi-Wan Kenobi and him in Revenge of the Sith all the way up to that point on Mustafar.
Well, but after his mom died and he was down in basically Uncle Lars' basement, whatever, he was crying. He was basically talking smack about Obi-Wan.
He totally was, but that was years ago. Because you remember, like, you have all of Clone Wars cartoon in between that.
Sure.
So,
sure.
I mean, like, either he got over it, or I mean, I guess he was holding on to that for that long.
Still in
bro,
there.
he bottled it up.
But
He didn't.
Still in there.
But he
wasn't going to counseling, getting the shit worked on. He bottled it up and put it in. It was still there.
If he still held on to it, why didn't he leave him on the ship?
Well,
why did he still?
I mean, it wasn't to that level to just leave him on the ship.
But nothing has happened between him and Obi-Wan Kenobi since then. As far as they parted ways, he says, "May the Force be with you." Same to you. And he goes off and Obi-Wan goes off and goes to fight Grievous. That was the last conversation they had.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty good conversation.
But also,
they were still loving with each other.
But also, it's like, my best friends who I love, but if I had, a situation that's my wife who's pregnant with my unborn child,
that changes everything.
I'm gonna do anything here.
I get it.
So, and again, I think in terms of the talk of, does the movie, tell the story? Does it hold up? Does it tell what it needs to tell?
We're not there yet.
Fine.
We're not there yet. We got more to talk about. I got more scenes I pulled.
No, I'm just saying. With regards to that scene.
Okay.
That scene, the turning point, because I think that's a huge one. A huge point.
Mace going out the window.
Mace going out the window.
That's
a huge scene, and I think it's necessary, and I think for me, it's believable.
So, side note, Mace Windu show. The rumors.
I know.
You think it's happening?
No.
I think it's totally happening.
I don't think so.
Samuel L. Jackson will do anything for a paycheck, and he loved that character.
They're not going to.
When does he have time to?
When does he
in between Capital One commercials?
Are you kidding me? He does like 90
he has
movies
like
a year.
50 movies a year. He's going to throw in another one in there.
I would love it. I'm going to throw my pitch in for it. You ready?
Let's hear it.
Here we go. Mace Windu flies out of the window. I can't even say it right.
Got to do the
I need
dad
more
joke.
wine.
Yeah.
Flies out the window. He lands in some kind of maybe kitty litter truck, whatever the case is. Anyways, somehow he gets frozen in carbonite. I'm going to use my my Luke Skywalker theory a little bit, but he's frozen for years, all the way through past episode 9.
Jeez.
So that way, when they unfreeze him, none of his his old acquaintances are alive. He has nothing to hold him back.
Just Rey.
Rey's around, but doesn't even care about Rey. He doesn't give a shit about Rey. He can just do whatever he wants to do. I want to see that Mace Windu. There's no Jedi Council? Really? There's one girl There's one girl walking around like a Jedi? I'll forget her. I'm going to do my own thing. First I need to do is get a new hand. And I need a new purple lightsaber. And we're going to do some shit.
No,
I'll pass. Palpatine played these guys so well. They don't deserve extended life. He deserves getting thrown out the window.
I feel like
I'm done with him.
But look,
I think he's done.
I think Mace Windu was powerful enough to survive that fall. Because look,
absolutely, I agree with that.
I think he could have survived it.
No, I agree with that. I think he could have. I don't think they're going to. I remember there was rumors of saying that in the outer reaches, like where they're going to go with Thrawn in the Ahsoka show. I know we're sidetracking, but there was rumors that like he could be out there in the outer reaches doing shit.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That could be cool. I don't know.
I don't think Mace Windu was fleshed out enough in at least the cartoons and even the show in the movies itself. And then also his dialogue was a little shitty also. So he could use some.
And I don't know. So actually, before I even say this, what's your guys' perception of Mace Windu? Like, where do you rank him, or how do you consider him against all of the other Jedi? Like, what's your view of him?
I think you go first.
I actually, at the time or now, like at the time, I thought it was cool. I thought he was awesome. Samuel L. Jackson, right?
Yeah.
I always put him right under Yoda in my eyes.
He was second in command, I believe.
Yeah.
Like in power too.
Yeah, after watching, I thought in power, but I thought all of them became more bureaucratic and then, getting their hands dirty, like, Obi-Wan and Qui. So that's how I always looked at them.
Yeah.
You ever watch House of Cards? Did we ever watch that show?
That was on Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was awesome.
So the president, I can't remember his name, but he had like a first in, like he had a guy in command of him, or like, no, I'm sorry. He commanded a guy who would just do all the dirty work that was necessary to get the job done. He was a fixer.
Yeah.
And I felt like Mace Windu was the fixer. Like he just knew what needed to be done. Like they might have had a council meeting where they talked about what they should do and what they should do, but Mace Windu knew that line that had to be crossed in order to get the job done, and then he'd be able to jump back over and be okay with himself. Like, for instance, he knew that Palpatine needed to die, and he was prepared.
No hesitation.
He was prepared to execute him right then and there and deal with the consequences later. And I think that's...
I respect that.
I think Yoda knows who he was. I think everybody on the council knew who he was, and everybody kept him around because they knew they needed a guy that was going to do that. That's who I think Mace Windu was.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mace Windu was the shit, really.
Yeah.
I mean, his story. Well, his story canon in like novelization of the books,
break it down,
and everything. Mace Windu was legendary. I mean, lightsaber skills, force power, all of it. I mean, he was epic. So, going to your point, Robbie, he could no problem survive that fall just getting his arm cut off. I mean, there's plenty of times where, force powers are used to stop yourself from falling.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the fact that easily he could have survived that, easily they could bring him back in some capacity. Will Disney do it?
Yes. If you brought
He's already on the payroll.
Yeah, he's like, if you already brought...
It's not Obi-Wan, though, bro. It's not Obi-Wan. He's Mace Windu. Obi-Wan's like the one, top 3 characters in all of Star Wars. Mace Windu isn't.
I mean, I think if you give him his own show, he then becomes in the top.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. He's the only Jedi that's ever been in the actual main movies that has a purple lightsaber.
That's just because Samuel, but yes.
Because he asked for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's also like, I mean, in a way, if you think about it, he was the biggest star as far as star power out of all of them in the prequel movies. The fact that
Do you think at the time him over Liam Neeson?
Liam Neeson was in one movie.
Oh, but still.
I mean, yeah, I didn't know who Liam Neeson was, to be honest with you,
Schindler's
until
List?
Okay.
I didn't. Maybe I watched it. I don't remember. But I knew who Samuel Jackson was. Are you fucking kidding me?
No,
you're right.
Everybody knows who he is.
Yeah, everybody knows Samuel.
I mean, I think that people would love to see what Mace Windu's up to right now.
They have a lot.
And in a way to save face for what Obi-Wan Kenobi show was.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I would absolutely love it. I just don't think
Name a Star Wars fan that wouldn't love it.
No, I just don't think they have the
Max,
the
would you like to see a Mace Windu show?
I would.
Okay.
Of course. Who wouldn't?
Exactly. That's
your
what I
point.
just said.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to do it. And I think Samuel L. Jackson loves paychecks.
Sure does.
From what we've seen him do, he could have turned down. First of all, he wanted to be a Jedi. And I think maybe he thinks in the back of his mind that he was kind of done wrong a little bit. Because
I heard an interview that he asked. He was like, come on, bring him back. Come on. Bring him back.
I just looked it up, like his upcoming roles that are reported. And this is just up to 2024, is next year. He has 8 things on dock.
I don't believe
in 1 year.
And isn't homie like
I believe
70?
it. I believe it.
Exactly, 8 things on dock. I'm like, dude, like it's never stopped working.
Yeah, he does like an average 4 or 5 fucking productions a year.
This year alone, he has 1, 2, 3, 4 reported this year.
He might actually hold the record for being in the most like.
Oh, actually, when he was part of the Star Wars, that's what made him the actor that was part of the highest grossing movies of all time. If you put all his things connected, and you know who he passed was Harrison Ford. So that was so when he was part of episode 1, 2, and 3, the amount of money they earned pushed him to being the highest. The actor being a part of the highest grossing movies combined.
Wow.
And now he's obviously doing all these Marvel
MCU,
stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's going to reach him.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
They have to do like 20 movies a year.
Fun fact number 3.
I like that. All right. And
you got the scene? You're going to play the scene with Padme?
Let's do it. Let's play the scene. I think
because I want to talk about.
Okay, so
because it also leads into.
I've been trying to set the scene up though. So all right, so he's now Darth Vader. He got his name.
Yeah.
He went into the Jedi Temple, killed a bunch of younglings, blah blah blah, whatever. So then he gets the, I guess the orders to now go to Mustafar.
Kill all the separatists.
His future home, right? He's gonna build Jedi or the Darth Vader palace there, whatever it's called, and now he's gonna kill all the separatist leaders. And he just kind of waits there, kind of broots in a corner and cries, which I thought was kind of interesting, right?
I mean, he just kind of did some shit.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, that's a lot to unpack,
He's reflecting.
But I think
that's a lot to unpack,
But I think it's
right?
something that I don't think anybody really talks about, that he knows, like he just killed all these people, and then you actually see him in a corner, like, you know, I guess admiring the lava pit, and he's got tears coming down his face.
Because he's not malicious. He didn't do them because
How are
he's
you not malicious?
No, he didn't do it. Maybe I didn't phrase it right. He's not a psychopath.
What is he not a psychopath?
He did it for a reason.
Do you remember the kid's face?
Yeah, he did it for a reason. He didn't wake up that morning and say,
Master
you know what?
Skywalker.
Today, I want to go kill as many people as possible, including a few children. You know? So he still has some remorse in there.
Maybe the adults, but he probably, when the kid, Master Skywalker, what's happening out there? You think he'd be like,
just close your eyes.
All right, you know what?
Close your eyes. I'm going to send you guys to a better
place. Go out
place.
the back door. Go out the back door. Just get on the shuttle. Get out of here. I'll let you guys live. Like some kind of humanity must have popped in there.
You know what though? Kids. I think to Max,
adopt one of those kids. Then
I think they were making a correlation though of how he never fully went 100% Vader. And even in that moment, because even at the end of Jedi, that was the whole point. There was always 1% Anakin left in there. He could have been 99% Lord Vader, but there was always 1% Anakin.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think that scene where he was crying in the corner, as you say, which is great. But
somebody put Vader in the corner?
No, that's
Vader that scene though. I think that was a little bit of a show of, you know, you can do all this, you can decide you're going to be Darth Vader, you can decide all this stuff, but ultimately, like, you're still Anakin Skywalker, and you still have to deal with the shit.
Yep.
All right. So meanwhile,
my opinion.
Okay, I like it. So meanwhile, back in Coruscant, Obi-Wan Kenobi tricks Padme to go, find Anakin, and he jumps on the shuttle, kind of hides out.
Sneaky bastard.
So now she shows up on Mustafar to find Anakin, and she has this nice conversation, which shows the acting chops of both of these guys.
Natalie Portman
and Hayden Christensen. Let's listen.
Obi-Wan told me terrible things.
What things?
He said you've turned to the dark side. That killed younglings.
Obi-Wan is trying to turn you against me.
He cares about us.
Us.
He knows. He wants to help you. Anakin, all I want is your love.
Love won't save you, Padme. Only my new powers can do that.
At what cost? You're a good person. Don't do this.
I won't lose you the way I lost my mother. I am becoming more powerful than any Jedi has ever dreamed of. And I'm doing it for you. To protect you.
Come away with me. Help me raise our child. Leave everything else behind while we still can.
Don't you see? We don't have to run away anymore. I have brought peace to the Republic. I am more powerful than the Chancellor. I can overthrow him. And together, you and I can rule the galaxy. Make things the way we want them to be.
I don't believe what I'm hearing. Obi-Wan was right. You've changed.
I don't want to hear any more about Obi-Wan. The Jedi turned against me. Don't you turn against me?
I don't know you anymore. Anakin, you're breaking my heart.
The scene plays long, but
It's well worth it.
it's powerful.
I love this.
I do too.
Yeah, I mean, she's been invested into him since, Attack of the Clones. They have this secret marriage. She's carrying his child. She thinks the world of him. And in that conversation, she now believes what Obi-Wan Kenobi told her, that he went and killed younglings, killed other Jedi. He's turning against the Republic that she holds so dear to herself, she's literally, her heart is breaking right in front of him.
Why I love this movie so much is this scene, because of course we talked about it earlier. How does Anakin Skywalker become Darth Vader? And I love the way they did this. I don't know what the proper term is, self-fulfilling prophecy, a paradox, or a Morbius strip, whatever term you want to use. The fact that his goal is to save her, and he does all these actions to save her, but these same actions that are going to save her is what actually kills her. Yeah. It is so well done in terms of story writing.
Absolutely.
And the depth of that in terms of thinking about that, it's so great. Like, I see you dying, so I'm going to do everything I can to stop you from dying, but everything I do is what causes you to die. It's great. It's like those time machine stories where I'm going to build a time machine to stop you from dying, but me building the time machine is what leads to you dying. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
I was literally gonna say the same thing, and I think that's a great thing because I it's like this scene where he, cuts Mace's arm off, and that seals the deal. But then this scene just sealed the deal of everything that you just did just backfired against you and was the reason. That
so
scene.
Good. It's so well done.
But then also to a point, let's not forget at the end of that scene, he actually force chokes her.
Yeah, he starts.
I don't think
which might have literally been the thing that killed
her. Yeah, the physical aspect of what kills her, other than the broken heart, right?
Well, I think the broken heart is actually what kills her, because even after she gives birth and the medic robot says, we can't find anything that's physically wrong with her.
Yeah, she gives up.
She just lost the will to live.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
And it's really, she does die of a broken heart.
Totally.
And all of the actions that he does to try to say, like what you just said, to try to save her is what makes her not want to live anymore.
Yeah, it's so well done. That's why I love this movie so much.
It is well done. I mean, out of all of my gripes that I have with bad dialogue and all that shit, that's not a bad written scene right there.
Yeah, that was well done.
Like, this scene is written really well, what she says right now. And then the other scene that I pulled is also written really well, because you can actually, these are the scenes, I don't know, maybe George Lucas stepped out for a smoking break and somebody else came and took the director's chair a little bit and made sure that the dialogue was right and made sure that people actually, acted properly. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but this scene is acted very well between both of them, but then also the next scene that I'm going to show is the aftermath of the battle, that the epic battle, that like arguably the best lightsaber battle out of any of the Star Wars movies. Is,
no argument.
Is
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi against Anakin Skywalker.
Think about that.
First time.
They gave
Not
you
the
a
second
great
time,
story,
the first time.
and then they give you an epic battle. I mean, that's what makes this movie the best of the three.
It is good. I mean, so
And your favorite of all.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite, hands down.
So out of all the Star Wars movies, like before we listen to this last scene, I would like to say, like, and I'm thinking about this in my head, going, maybe I should not be saying this, and someone might get mad at me for saying it. Even though with the bad dialogue, with bad acting, with the overusage of CG, with all these things I'm talking about, the actual story that's written to get from point A to point B to show how all of these events happen.
Yeah.
Is this the best written trilogy as far as story arc out of the three?
My gut wants to just say yes right now.
You want to, but think about it. I mean, I
Well,
can definitely say
definitely
Because
not
it gives you the
it's
arc.
better than the sequels.
Yeah.
Let's just put the sequel out.
that's eliminated.
But is the actual story that's there in place better than the original trilogy?
So, I guess old heads would be like, I mean, the fact that Vader's Luke's father is like, boom, it's movie lore, right?
Sure.
I'm not taking away from that.
It's become cultural, that part of the story. But this arc, from that little boy racing and trying to do right by everybody to killing kids and being the cause of his wife's death, is, I mean, that's pretty good too.
Yeah.
I need to think on that.
So I'm gonna throw things out. I mean, we're gonna do the original trilogy like really soon.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. I feel like the original trilogy, the plan wasn't fully set in the original trilogy. Where I feel like the plan was fully set in the prequels. There was no plan in the trilogy. Let's just leave that alone for a second. That was just like, we're just fucking throwing shit in the air and seeing what sticks. But
in the sequels?
In the sequels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It literally
I'm sorry, in the sequels, yeah.
It literally
in the
was.
original trilogy, though, I feel that maybe Darth Vader wasn't initially supposed to be Luke Skywalker's father. I think maybe they came up with that in The Empire Strikes Back. I don't think Leia was supposed to be his sister. I think maybe they threw that in later, because why would you have a make out? That isn't, unless you're just a weirdo. Like little things like that, I don't think it was really set in stone. Like maybe they just made these little decisions as they were going through. And so that for me, like to be honest with you, when I was a kid, I always when I first watched Empire Strikes Back, I was like, oh, like I thought that Luke and Leia should be together, not Han and Leia.
Yeah.
And then it took me until Return of the Jedi, which was, how many years I saw. I mean, I think I saw that pretty because I didn't have to wait a gap till that movie came out, but I didn't put it together right away that they were brother and sister.
Yeah.
And so that was weird when I figured that out. Like that still bothers me to this day.
Because you thought you were getting a good love triangle, right? In the beginning, right?
I didn't know what a love triangle was when I watched that. I just thought Luke Skywalker was my favorite character because he was a Jedi and carried a lightsaber. I thought that was badass.
And you wanted him to get the girl.
You wanted him to get
I
the
wanted
girl.
him with the girl. And it's like, oh wait, they're brother and sister. That's just fucking weird.
Kind of weird.
So that stuff always has a bad taste in my mouth. So, but the overall story and the overall story arc of that was. It's good, but even though the execution isn't great, isn't as good,
not be as good.
in the prequels, is the story that's there better? I mean,
Yes.
the idea of having
Joey
said it.
Yes.
Joey said it.
I think it is.
It is, huh?
I think it is. I think because
there's a lot more moving parts.
I
That's
was
for
just gonna
sure.
say I think they're doing. There's more to be done, and I think it was done well when you talk about the overall story arc. We can nitpick about all the bullshit all day about all of the movies, but I think
just to be clear, I'm not saying that we're not saying this is our favorite trilogy.
No,
we're not saying that
no,
it
I'm not
replaced
saying
it.
that.
You're
No,
just saying the story
We're just
arc.
talking the story itself.
Yeah.
Like as far as the whole build up from the first part of the trilogy to the end of the trilogy, the payoff.
Well, because you also have
I
to
guess we're
think
looking
about
Maybe not how it's put together.
Maybe it's not put
everything,
together, the
but
dialogue specifically,
Yeah.
the directing, the acting, the characters.
No, for
CGI.
sure. Just pure story. Because think about the amount, even just the time for the original trilogy versus the time for the prequels. You have so much more space to cover in the prequels, and they filled it with so much more. You have so much more from a young boy who's arguably innocent to Anakin at the scene that we just watched. I mean, we have all of that. There's so much more.
Max? I'll tell you what. Sit on it.
Yeah.
Let's listen to this next scene.
The last scene.
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them! Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness! I hate you! You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you.
Ow.
It should be called Revenge of the Jedi because he just like leaves him there to die.
Dude.
Max says, "Ow."
Ow. Like, damn.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you loved him so much and you see him being like he's burning to death, you think you just go there and ignite your lightsaber in his head really fast, kind of put him out of his misery.
Put him in misery. This is cruel and unusual punishment. But Joey had a take on there.
Yeah,
on this.
I don't think Obi-Wan, I don't think he could do it. I don't think he could I don't think he could walk up to Anakin and light the saber. I think he was kind of taking it out there, and I think he was hoping that, cutting a couple limbs
gangster,
off.
though.
And, well,
if you mean he just
Obi-Wan's
leaves
not
him.
gangster.
He grabs his lightsaber.
I think it was bitch mode.
He grabs his
unfortunately.
lightsaber. He knows he's still alive, but like with those are some serious degree burns he's got going on right now.
For sure.
He's got no legs. He's missing arms, and he just kind of like. Is he missing? He's missing one arm, right?
But
But he just
legs,
walks off
no
while he's
legs.
still alive, thinking he's just gonna die by a lava river.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let.
But I think it's because he couldn't kill Anakin, and you know what confirms that? Our
Obi-Wan
favorite
Kenobi?
recent show,
Jesus.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. He did the same fucking thing.
At least take his ship or blow it up so he can't leave the planet.
Well, I mean,
But
come on.
It's horrible.
Come
like,
on.
Like, dude, it's like you don't have it in you to put him out of his misery, but you have it in you to let him suffer so bad. That's pretty harsh too, man.
This is also true.
Let me ask you a question: does he deserve to suffer that harsh?
Yeah, he killed kids, man.
Yeah, he killed kids.
Yeah, he
killed kids.
deserves. all
Yeah,
of
but
that.
you know what? This is, I don't know. I feel like in this scene, but more like in the Kenobi show, if he's going to do all of that, like, make sure he dies. This is like if somebody comes into your house and you pop him in the leg, and they just broke into your house and they have a gun. You're meaning to tell me you're going to pop him in the leg and you're not just going to finish the job?
You got a double tap.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
dead
Like,
check
what are
him.
you
You got
talking
to dead
about?
check him,
Yeah,
right?
what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And that's this. So, I mean, and then he had the opportunity again in Kenobi. Didn't do it. Still didn't do it. So I think this is an
That's his
Obi-Wan thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
which I understand, from like a compassion standpoint, what they're trying to do here. They're trying to portray Obi-Wan in that sense.
This leads me to. I have a question for you both.
Okay.
It's actually a four-parter.
A
Four-parter? Well, I got to take a nap really fast.
No. Hear me out. In the trilogies we're talking about here, only consider for at the time when you watch the trilogies, I have 4 characters that are in this trilogy and they're in the original trilogies. How this trilogy affected how you perceive those characters, positive or negative? Meaning, we'll start with Obi-Wan we were just talking about. In the original, we saw Obi-Wan kind of out there, right? I'm going to start training Luke. He has a certain mystique to him. What did these 3 movies do for that character for you? So I have the 4 characters I want you guys to talk about is Obi-Wan, Anakin, Senator Palpatine himself, and Yoda.
Ooh.
I'll start with-
Did you get the question?
Go ahead,
Did you
Robbie.
get
I'll
it?
start with Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
First of
Yeah,
all,
go
I
ahead.
feel like Obi-Wan should have been more of a badass.
Yeah.
In the original in the original episode A New Hope,
Yeah, New Hope.
just by seeing what he could do in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Because the gap between those movies was only 20 years, I think. I feel like he degraded pretty rapidly as far as like his skills as a Jedi. But other than that, I mean, it only.
Did you like the character more after seeing this trilogy?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
What's funny is what character I didn't like as much was actually Vader, which is kind of weird because I do actually like the story arc of Anakin Skywalker, but it lost a little bit of that mystery flavor.
Oh, okay.
As far as like
That's
knowing what's under the mask, because sorry, but James Earl Jones doesn't look like Hayden Christensen. So it kind of lost a little bit of that, but it was very interesting. I remember watching Revenge of the Sith and then watching A New Hope, and then feeling like it did go into it, even though like I mean the movement of each movies was completely different. Obviously, like the settings were different, the special effects was different, all that kind of stuff, but the character was still kind of moved from one to the other. It felt weird, but it was, I don't know. It felt weird, but then it felt better once Rogue One came out because it bridged the gap a little bit more.
Okay, but don't bring that in.
I'm not
change
bringing
your
that
character. Just the scope of just from the scope of those 6 movies.
It felt weird.
Okay.
As far as Yoda, I don't really think anything changed for Yoda. He just felt like I felt like it was weird that he was 800 years old in Empire Strikes Back, but then he was 900 years old in Return of the Jedi. That was a little weird. Right? Am I right?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, look it up. It's right. I'm right.
And then what about the Emperor?
No, I felt the Emperor. I mean, the only thing that was really different with the Emperor, because he became that character at the end of Revenge of the Sith, is that he didn't use a lightsaber. Really, that was really the only in Return of the Jedi, or in that little brief moment that you actually see him in Empire Strikes Back, which is just like a hologram.
So for you, Obi-Wan up, Anakin down, Yoda even, and Palpatine up, even. Joey, I'd love to hear your take on these 4 characters.
So I'm just going to start with up on all of them.
Okay. So you like
for me, it took him up on all of them. And I think it's because, Obi-Wan, you got so little of in general, but they made it seem like there's this story and he's this, was this Jedi. And so I think the building of Obi-Wan's character in the prequel made his role in A New Hope and, what he did even beyond A New Hope so important.
Yeah.
Vader, again, I've always loved Vader, and I totally understand actually Robbie's point of it taking away a little bit of the mystery behind Vader, because I think that was always the concern of it doing anything else with Vader's character is you're taking this this mystique and you can mess it up if you keep it going. But I actually like that they made it a real story and this real good to pure kind of evil. I actually that helped me with the character, and I loved that. Yoda, it was the same thing, because for me, again, and I don't know if this is like a generational type of a thing, but when I watched Yoda in the original trilogy when I was a kid, even before the prequels, it's like, you're talking about him like this master, but he's kind of goofy in the original, and there was that kind of an aspect, and I feel like they showed a little bit more of Master Yoda as a Jedi on the council. They talked about his history and, all of this. So that kind of helped make the character they talked about in the original trilogy. I feel like that backed it up.
Okay.
And then Palpatine, same thing. I mean, showing the master plan and the manipulation and everything.
Throughout 3 movies.
Yeah, because all you have is, you have the Emperor, but showing the Emperor go from being a senator to the Chancellor to the Supreme Chancellor to basically homie designed all of this, and that's how he got there. So for me, all characters were developed in the prequels.
For me, I kind of agree with a lot of what you guys said, but except for one big, Obi-Wan for sure, that this trilogy made his lore great. Killing Darth Maul, some great,
nice.
and ending Anakin's legs. I mean, those are some really cool stuff for the character. And for me, I'm with you with the Darth Vader thing. I'm a big Darth Vader, and that storyline just enhanced the character for me. Especially killing the kids and killing everybody made him that villain. Like, he's that dude, right? And then Palpatine, I thought, like, I just loved him just manipulating throughout the 3 movies. But for me, the place where I disagree with you guys is, like, when I first watched these 3, I was like everybody else amazed seeing Yoda, doing the parkour and the lightsabers. But when I rewatched it as I'm older now, it's a huge letdown for me because he was manipulated so badly by the Emperor. Like, Yoda, when I was growing up, was supposed to be the ish. Like, he is the one. Like, the top Jedi guy,
he's
right?
He's a Grand Master
Jedi. The
Jedi.
Grand Master Yoda, right? Yeah. He's the guy. He shouldn't have been manipulated.
No, he's 800 to 900 years old.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been manipulated so easily by Palpatine, and he should have done a better job of being more hands-on with Anakin. That, like, you're afraid of Anakin throughout, like, in the beginning, and you don't, like, put your hands on, like, say, hey, let me do some of this training to make sure this guy doesn't be engulfed by fear. So to me, Yoda was a huge letdown when I was rewatching.
I get that
as an adult.
I do too.
Like, it was like, this trilogy did not make him, in my eyes, like, but when I first saw it, I was like with everybody else, oh, did you see Yoda in that? Like, he was blah, blah, blah. But then he was like, he couldn't beat Dooku. He couldn't beat the Emperor. Like, I'm like, dude, what happened?
He could have beat Dooku,
Maybe.
but he was too worried about, like, Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi
But it was still
dying.
let down in the 3 movies. Like, I thought he should have at least done something.
I see that. Because,
I
mean, it does show that the Emperor was more powerful than all the Jedi because he was able to mask his powers in front of him. Nobody ever sensed that he was right in the same room with them.
Yeah, across the desk.
Yeah,
at times.
And it was interesting that when he does lose the battle against the Emperor, he does run away pretty quickly.
Yeah, and he becomes the next time you see him,
20 years later, he can barely move.
Yeah, that was a really big disappointment for me rewatching these as the trilogy.
Yeah, and I've never really thought about it in terms of that, but I think those are super valid points, man.
Absolutely,
because we all look at Yoda with such green eyes, I would say, right? He's like, he's everybody's, like, everybody loves, respects Yoda, but he was a big letdown for me in this story. Like, these 3.
I think that's the problem whenever you do prequel movies or prequel episodes or shows or anything like that. When you're trying, there's going to be some fallout as far as, like, that transition going back into the originals. As you're trying to tell a story about these certain characters, and then somehow you have to have them get to that destination in the originals, whether it's a TV show or it's a movie or whatever, and get them to the same setting. You want, like, you needed to show Yoda as a badass. I feel like, I mean, I don't know if you needed to. I mean, like I said before, like, it was kind of surprising Yoda whipping out a lightsaber. I don't know if anybody ever thought that he was going to whip out a lightsaber.
Yeah.
But if you did that, you showed him being that badass. I think you should have cut his, like, pun intended.
Yeah.
You should have cut him down a little bit more, like, a little bit more to show why he's so fragile when you see him the first time in Empire Strikes Back. Because 20 years later, because you think about it, because if he's really that many years old, if you look at,
we're gonna daily double.
We're gonna jump into Mandalorian for a second. So you look at Grogu. Grogu's 50 or 60 years old, and yet he's still developed as a child, right? So obviously they age tremendously slower than all the other species that you ever see in Star Wars. God, we're getting we're getting so fucking nerdy with the shit. So why does 20 years
make that much of a difference?
Make him so fragile, right?
Okay, it's
push him over the edge.
So it's because
he knows.
He knows.
So
shut up, Max.
Yoda though, when he is in the Jedi Council and a part of it, he is using the Force to basically keep his body and his life going. So he's using the Force to prolong his life to the point that it's at. They live a long time, but he's using it. That's why everyone's like, well, why is he using a cane if he can just turn it on and jump around? That took a lot out of Yoda to jump around. So when he had to shut everything off after Order 66 and basically not use the Force, so the Emperor didn't sense him, that's the reason he went to Dagobah, because Dagobah is a huge dark side Force planet. So he was able to hide his inherent light side energy there, but he basically, just like Obi-Wan in the Obi-Wan show, he had to stop using and practicing the Force, and basically his life started to diminish quickly. It's like the good old use it or lose it concept.
Yeah.
So that's a, you know,
Wait, so
okay,
that's
that
what
makes
happens
sense.
to Obi-Wan?
well,
Is that what they say, that like he's...
that's why at first, like, he couldn't really like fight, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, when Vader was fighting him, he's like, oh, you know, your powers are back, blah blah blah.
So that's interesting. Okay.
Because he basically has to shut the Force off, because you can sense, other Force users can sense other Force users.
So check it out. Ready for this?
Let's hear it.
Here we go. So let's go to Obi-Wan Kenobi for a second. So Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's 10 years later, right?
Yeah.
Because Luke Skywalker and Leia are 10 years old.
Yeah.
So it takes him 6 episodes to get his power back, because Vader says, I see your powers have returned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then another 10 years have passed, and so now you have a new hope. So now his powers have diminished again, so now he's got to get his powers back again to get back to like whatever the case is. So maybe they didn't get fully charged because it wasn't 6 episodes, it was just 3 hours.
I don't know.
I don't know. Like,
You know,
hey.
this is again, herein lies the problem of doing prequels. You know, going back. You know,
we shouldn't have. No,
I know what I said was kind of sacrilege. Like Yoda was disappointed.
no, that's
but
actually
no,
great.
no,
That's
no.
a great point.
if
It's a
you're
great
not going to
point. I'm
say
glad you
shit
let us
like
go
that
first.
on a podcast like this, then what are we doing here?
I'm gonna get the hate mail now.
It's like me saying number 3 is
Mark
my favorite.
Albright.
Yeah, that was a big one that you went out
At least
there.
it wasn't episode 1.
No,
Mark Albright's going to send you some shit, dude. He's never going to listen to this episode. Okay, so we listened to the last clip that I pulled.
Yeah.
Anakin's fully, he's fully committed to now being Darth Vader. Emperor comes and finds him, and you see the cool transition for Emperor, putting him in a Darth Vader suit, giving him the respirator, enter James Earl Jones show. What happened to Padme? She's dead. No. You get to see, him walk off like, Frankenstein for a second, trying to figure out how to use his bodies and limbs. Then you get to see the birth of Luke and Leia, and she automatically knew their names immediately, even though she didn't even know she was having twins. Luke, Leia. And then she lost the will to live. She dies. And then you get to see how they get separated, where Senator Organa, he takes Leia because they've always wanted to have a daughter. They were thinking of adopting. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi takes him to his family, who don't really know him. that part's a little weird, but takes him back to them. They don't even know. Like,
it's the only way to connect it to New Hope. That's all that was.
It's their okay.
I also think it was the only place that they felt like you could hide Vader's kid. The place that Vader was never going to go.
I would think the first move you should do is change his last name.
Well, for sure.
If you don't want him to know he's a Skywalker,
this is true.
Just
don't call him a Skywalker.
Don't call him Skywalker.
Just adopt the Owen last name.
Very, very
and then
true.
you can move on.
That's
anyways,
elegant solution.
So you see that, and then I think the whole movie ends with a silhouette of Grand Moff Tarkin and Darth Vader and the Emperor looking at the skeleton of the Death Star.
Yeah,
right.
Badass.
Is that how it ends? Or is there another scene after that? I think it ends right there.
I think that is how it ends.
Yeah,
yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
They show you the uncle and the aunt in the desert, and then I think it's the Death Star.
So I think we went through a lot of, we probably missed some key points, but we went through the main meat of the prequels, right?
Yep.
We talked about at least I know I did. What I talked about, the dialogue that I didn't like. I'm sure I could find thousands of more dialogues that I didn't like.
Sure.
Talk about all the overusage of the CG, especially in Phantom Menace, because it wasn't quite baked ready yet.
Yeah.
I could say the same thing about Clone Wars, not as much. I mean, I think they found it. Obviously, technology kind of grew along with these movies. I think it could still use a good makeover as far as have Disney spend some of that Disney money and just, I'm not saying redo it. I'm just saying give it a new coat and make it change the lighting of it and stuff like that. I think it could go a long way as far as preserving it.
Remaster it. Basically.
And obviously, if you're going to do that to the original trilogies, no one's going to give a shit if you do it to the prequels.
Yeah.
People will probably love it and accept it and, be more grateful for it. But overall, looking at all these things, I'm going to ask Max this first, and Joey, I'm going to ask you. I kind of already know what you're going to say, Joey. But did it hold up as far as what the original scores were? Or now that you can look at it, because the original scores, I mean, they did get better as each movie went on.
Yeah.
But now that you can sit back and you look at them as the three, and then look at Clone Wars that have been added to it, look at, you know, all the stuff that Disney has done with all the other cartoons and then the TV shows with Mandalorian and Boba Fett, which you haven't even watched. So we're going to talk about why that sucks later on.
Called 3 Children Under the Age of 7.
They sleep, man.
And I do with them right then and there.
As you kind of
in
have
their
to.
room.
No, I get you. But now we also saw the prequels and what was done there and stuff like that. Letting the prequels marinate.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Do these things do they age better over time, or are they even worse, or do they just basically stay stagnant?
I'm not going to take a cop out here, but so just hear me out. After rewatching the 3 of them, I already liked episode 3 a lot, right?
Right. You know that.
And I liked episode 2. Episode 1 was the one that I was a little shaky on. I think the ratings are on par because they gradually get better. In my opinion, the movies got better based on Lucas's, I think, warming up and getting better as it went on. To me, the story definitely holds up, and I appreciate it even more. But the execution of some of it in the movies, it didn't hold up. Like the first part of episode 1, I don't want to call it clunky, but a little disconnected. It didn't flow great. But I blame that to his rust of putting a movie together.
Yeah, he was stretching.
He was stretching, right? Some of the dialogue, some of the early CGI, the acting of Anakin in all 3 movies, whether it was Christensen or
I like him in the third one.
Jake.
Though.
Yeah, he was a little bit better there. So and what I talked about with Yoda. So some of those things I didn't feel like held up, but the story, like the crux of it was great. Like that part, I think was phenomenal. And I never answered, is it better than the stories of the original? And I think I'm going to go with as of right now, I think it is. I gotta go watch episode 4, 5, and 6 now.
Well, we're going
to. I'm going to change my mind.
I think we got to hit that up for next month.
Yeah,
but we definitely need to do the trilogy. But do you think the scores hold, or do you like?
I think the scores are spot on. To be honest with you,
really, you don't think, no better, no worse. They still say that where they're at.
Yeah, because I'm not going to put any of them as an 8 or a 9 or a 10. I think 7.5 to 8. I'll give you an 8 for episode 3.
I'm talking about as a whole.
As a whole.
So if you averaged it, so I think it was what 7, 8. It was 7, 8. I can look it up. Hold on a second.
Dude, it was like
5.
One was in the 50s.
It was like 50.
It was 50s, 60s, and 70s.
50s,
60s, 70s. So
I think
so the average is a 60.
Right? I would say maybe closer to 65, 70.
So it goes up a little bit.
Yeah, it goes up a little bit because the story to me is really good. I really liked the arc of the story. I just didn't quite like the execution.
I agree. Okay.
That's how. If that makes any sense.
No, it totally
I know it's not a cop out. I hope it's not a cop out, but that's how I looked at it.
I totally get what you're saying.
Okay. Joey, what do you got?
I think if I'm gonna look at these scores and in my head I view them like grades. So I'm gonna a 50 is a fail.
No.
60 is a D.
Yeah.
70 is average, right?
Yep.
So I don't think 1 deserves a fail. I think you could give 1 arguably a D, and I'm fine with a D score for 1.
That.
Sure,
I like that.
2 to me is I like 2, and I love 3. So I don't think the scores hold up, especially today. I think they should be a little higher. So I definitely don't think 1 should be an F.
No.
I think 2 should probably be average or close to a B.
A solid C student.
A solid C student.
Yeah.
And for me, 3, trying not to be too in my own and say that it's an A.
It's an A+.
I think, no, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's a solid 89.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Like, I thought you were going to say it's an A+.
No, because like I get
but
everything,
isn't that
I'm trying to take everything into play here.
But isn't episode 3 your favorite Star Wars movie?
It is, but I'm also trying to take everything into play. I mean, we've had this conversation.
That means you think that no Star Wars movie is an A+?
Well,
Or an A?
that's kind of messed up too. But at the same time, I'm trying not to just be.
I get you.
In my own head. I'm trying to take everything we're talking about into play. So overall, like, yeah, do I think in my own rating system that 3 is the best and that it's an A+? Yes. But I'm trying to, Rotten Tomatoes, like 100%. No, it's not 100%.
Dude, they gave,
you know what I'm saying?
They gave Last Jedi an A. So
I know that's horrible.
Let's not take Rotten Tomatoes like serious.
Yeah,
it's a joke.
I think it holds up.
Yeah,
overall, I think it holds up, and I think it plays better now than it did then.
Yeah,
personally,
I can see that. I agree with that.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Okay,
Robbie?
My turn. Okay, so I love doing these still holds up episodes because then I actually have to kind of look at it in a way, like dissect the movies a little bit more, not just sit there and just to try to enjoy them and just get lost in the universes or the stories, whatever. But then kind of figure out think about the execution. Think about, is the point getting across? Is the acting good? Blah, 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 whatever. Having said all that, this being Star Wars, there's such a world that's been written around it now. Because when these movies came out, there was really the only thing that lived up to it was the original trilogy. There was nothing else that was out there. Like George Lucas stopped there. He did his Christmas special and there was some miscellaneous cartoons, the Ewok movies, but there was nothing that was really like, yes, this is Star Wars. There's been such a world that's been developed around the original trilogy in the beginning of it. And then like behind it, it adds more to what I think the prequels are for the better in a way. And looking at the documentary and then thinking about it for a second, taking out the equation, like maybe that he did write a lot of these characters to get profit for toys and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I can see if you look at these movies, if this was originally his vision, you make the first movie more catered towards kids to get a new audience in, and then you develop it almost like, and this wasn't around at that time. I don't think it was. No, it wasn't. You develop it like Harry Potter, like the Harry Potter movies, where each movie gets more adult and more adult, and the movies age with your audience, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so if I look at it that way, it makes these movies in a way more brilliant.
Yeah,
in my opinion. Now I still have issues with the dialogue. I have issues with the over CG. I have issues with like the characters and the acting and all that kind of shit. I get what he's trying to do with Jar Jar Binks in the first movie. I get what he's trying to do with Anakin. If you look at it, if you're trying to bring in this young audience, what makes Batman so awesome to a lot of people? Because Batman's believable, right? Yeah. Like you can take an average person and they could be Batman. You can't take an average person and think they're going to be Superman and flying around, but I can fight crime in an outfit and swing on a rope from one thing to another.
Yeah.
And, be a detective. So if you're trying to bring in a young audience and you bring in this 10-year-old, that opens up this age group of kids that would want to be Anakin, that think that they could fly a spaceship, that think they could do pod racing and use the Force and become the chosen one. And you already have you already have the diehard Star Wars older audience, and then you have their teenage kids and everything else. Like I was a teenager when I went and saw it. You have all that stuff, and now you bring in that other young audience, and now you have the 10-year-old. Then you have the Obi-Wan Kenobi and the 20-year-olds. Then you have what's his name? Jedi. Oh my crap! It's late, man. It's freaking late. You have his master. Oh my God!
Wait, who's master?
Obi-Wan Kenobi's master.
Oh, Qui-Gon.
You have Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Jeez, man, it's so late. What time is it? 1, 2?
No. Yeah.
Good God. 2 in the morning. So you have Qui-Gon. So you have this huge age group of all these people and stuff like that. So I could see how you would that movie makes sense. Like I love the pod racing. It has the second best lightsaber scene out of all the lightsaber scenes.
Yeah.
You fight, and then it has arguably one of the most famous Siths. Like
totally.
You have
dude, Maul.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah, like
awesome.
Maul, like people like Maul more than they like Count Dooku, and I guarantee people like Maul way more than they like freaking Kylo bullshit over here.
Short of Vader, he's also just aesthetically. I mean, come
yeah,
on.
I mean it's awesome. So I mean, in a way, Phantom Menace delivers there. Like in Clone Wars, I know I'm taking a long time developing this whole thing. So now you've aged up a little bit. Now you have this love story that I think is way overdone. To the point you could have cut 90% out of that and I would have got it. It would have been totally fine.
Easy, bro.
Totally fine. I'm going to gloss over this movie because it's a filler movie in my opinion. Even though you do see, it's nice you get to see who Boba Fett's dad is. You get to see the clones being made. You get to see all these nice little things. But at the end, this movie fills in the gap to like get to see the meat of every single thing you want to see, which is really Anakin Skywalker become Darth Vader, Emperor come into power, what happens to the Jedi, all that kind of shit. And then I'm like, from that scene on in Revenge of the Sith, it's executed great. It really is.
It is.
As soon as Anakin turns dark, everything's great. From then on, I have no gripes with it at all. It's fully like, you killing kids. You're committed to this journey. Go for it. So everything, I mean, looking at it now, and then like that, and then you got the Clone Wars in between, Attack of the Clones, the cartoon, the cartoon Clone Wars, or in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, that fills in that gap of what Anakin Skywalker was and all that kind of shit. Everything kind of boosts up for me. So, in my opinion, this movie is better than what it's rated. I would add
the three of them.
Huh?
The three of them.
The three of them as a whole.
Yeah, as a whole.
As a whole, I think they're up there. So if I would give every single thing an extra 10 points. So if you gave Phantom Menace a 5.7, I think it's now a 6.7. If Attack of the Clones, even though it's like my least favorite out of it, is 6.7. I would flip those scores actually. I think Phantom Menace is better than Clone Wars, in my opinion. Just because dude, the pod racing is freaking awesome. Qui-Gon Jinn is badass. The lightsaber battles is freaking great. The story, that one's actually kind of weak in a sense of like trade dispute. Like really that's what we're fighting over is a trade dispute. Okay. But you get to see a lot of things. You see the Senate for the first time. You see Coruscant for the first time. You see the Emperor, like you see Palpatine for the first time. There's a lot of first timers in there where it's like, this is awesome. This is awesome. This is awesome. Like, I mean, it stacks up. It's the first time you get to see the Jedi fight that way. Like, it's pretty cool. It doesn't, anyways, I think it's better than what it's rated before.
Yeah.
I've learned it's actually aged well for me. Like I said, all those issues.
Okay.
I enjoy watching it with my 3-year-old every other month right now because that's kind of like the phase that he's in right now.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it.
Are you appreciating them more because you didn't like the sequels?
Probably.
And the whole thing with George Lucas and the toys, don't blame that on him. That's executives.
But you made a good point there. So look, so the sequels, they didn't really have anything they needed to live up to, right? Really, they didn't. Like, you didn't need to make 7, 8, 9, but you did make 7, 8, 9. And you took 7, 8, 9, you took original characters from the trilogy and then decided to tell me what they've been doing with their lives and destroy their lives in front of me, right? No, nobody agrees with me on this one?
Okay.
But in the prequels, you just had to basically tell me how Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader, how the Emperor gets into power, what happens to the Jedis.
You know the destination. You just show me the route.
I know the destination. Just tell me how you get there.
Yeah.
But in the sequels, you don't know where they're going. It's
and
just
you disappoint the shit out.
They should have taken George's sequels. And when George sold Disney, it came with his sequels, and they fucking bookshelved it.
Well, in my opinion, when I was reading books, I read the Thrawn trilogy, and for me, that was 7, 8, 9.
Yeah,
that took place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, and Timothy Zahn wrote a great trilogy there, and I loved what he was doing with all the main characters.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed knowing what happened to those characters after those books. I mean, I feel like we should save that conversation for when we do the prequels.
The sequel,
that way we can actually go where they were supposed to go and where they ended up going.
Yeah, because that's a sequel.
That's one sequel you're talking about, and you said Lucas had his own sequel. So there's two different ones you're saying that are better than what we got.
Mine wasn't really 7, 8, 9. I just always assumed it was 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, he's fanning that. No, George wrote a 7, 8, and 9.
Okay. Is any of that information gotten out?
Yeah. We'll talk about it.
That.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
But for the prequels,
and when Disney bought, they basically told him like, "Oh yeah," and then we're gonna take this and we're gonna start this, and then they were like, "Put it on a shelf."
We talked to J.J. Abrams, and J.J. Abrams was like, "You know what you should do? Not only get rid of that, But get rid
Hire
of
me.
all the books that have ever been written, so I can start from scratch.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
And tell you exactly where they
Because
should go.
that was probably a dream of his, obviously,
Well, he definitely was a Star Wars fan. That was
Yeah,
a good
that was
thing.
a dream.
Was he,
Rian
though?
Johnson.
Like, he's like, I want to write some, my own story here. I'm not going to piggyback somebody else's.
Let me tell you right now, a real true Star Wars fan would not have Princess Leia naming their kid Ben. You want to know why? Because she didn't know Obi-Wan Kenobi as Ben. She never called him Ben. That's why you had to make the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, just so you can find out why she named her kid Ben.
Because
didn't make any sense.
No, it
Didn't make any
wasn't.
sense.
It wasn't Ben in Legends.
No, Luke Skywalker's kid was Ben.
Yeah, because their kid was Jace,
They had twins first.
but the son was Jace.
Right. And then they had a third kid named Anakin.
I don't remember that. That's cool.
I fucked you up.
You did. That's cool. I like that.
I'm pretty
I
sure
dig
we
that.
can look it up. I'm not anybody who's a nut job who's listening to this show. I'm 85% sure she has a third kid, and that kid's named Anakin, and one of their kids becomes evil and actually kills Mara Jade, who is Luke Skywalker's wife.
Yeah.
And he turns to the dark side.
Yeah.
Why does he turn to the dark side?
Legends is cool, man.
It shouldn't be Legends.
I know.
Well,
I know.
We should make 7, 8, 9 Legends.
I like that. Just retcon it. World between worlds.
Sure. Okay. I think we've done enough Star Wars nerding for the night. It's late. I still got kids. You got kids. You got kids. But
it was well worth it, though.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody that actually listened to this entire episode. I think we're just gonna leave it as a solo. We're not gonna split up into 2 parts.
Okay. Where you at?
Maybe 2 parts.
Maybe 2 parts. Now he's looking at it. He's like,
maybe 2 parts.
Shit, it's almost 3 hours long. So yeah, we're gonna split this. We'll split this into 2 parts.
Yeah, part 1, part 2.
It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so everybody's listening to the second part that we're on right now. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to check out our other podcast, The Last of Us. Where episode 5 should be coming out pretty soon. So stay on the lookout for that. Thanks to our Patreon producer, Knight Rider 169. Without you, these episodes don't happen. Don't forget, if you like this podcast, you guys could all help support us by heading over to our patreon.com/rotyourbrainmedia. I gotta memorize that. And send us, become a patron. Help us get a cup of coffee. Stuff like that.
Joey, are you gonna give people some place to complain to you at?
I wasn't prepared for that. We'll do that. We'll do that at the original trilogy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll do that at the original.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't want to get all the hate mail only for my Yoda thing.
All right. Well, thanks again, Joey. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thanks for having us,
This
gentlemen.
episode was a blast.
Awesome.
Yep.
And for our listeners, we'll catch you next time.
For sure.
Music composed by Jason Zaffrey. Additional bed music composed by Kyle Tormey. Thanks for listening to this episode of Still Holds Up, a Rot Your Brain podcast. Subscribe to the Still Holds Up podcast feed at rotyourbrainmedia.com/stillholdsup. Follow us on Twitter at rot_yourbrain and support Rot Your Brain Media and its podcast by being a part of this exciting new and growing community. Visit patreon.com/rotyourbrainmedia.